Now we count down the top business stories of 2010 with guests who have been on the cutting edge of the headlines all year long. John Stephenson counts. He's the Senior Vice President and Portfolio Manager for First Asset Management, where he helps manage over $2.5 billion. John is also the author of the Little Book of Commodity Investing, and he's here with a look at the biggest commodity stories of the year. Number one, John, tell us about copper and whether copper is going to remain a big story in 2011.
Oh, absolutely. It's probably going to be $5 a pound in a year's time. It's moved up very substantially, and the reason is simple. Supply is really tight. If I told you we had 8 days of food supply left in the world, there'd be panic, and you'd be rushing to the grocery store, the supermarket. Well, we have 8 days of copper supply on the London Metals Exchange, so that's why it's so tight, and that's why it's moved so strongly this year. And of course, demand is huge.
8 days of supply for copper. Let me guess, China.
China is a big engine for demand in this and really every commodity you can think of. But absolutely, it continues to be the most important industrial base metal, and it will continue to be in demand. And there's really no supply coming on until 2012, 2013 in an appreciable way. So I think it'll be very tight in 2011. I think prices will continue to go higher.
What about the supply-demand situation for gold right now, flirting with $1,400 an ounce?
Well, it's exactly the opposite. There's plenty of supply. There's plenty of supply of gold around because all the gold that's ever been mined in the world is in existence in above-ground stocks, pretty much. But the problem with it is gold is money, and that's what's moving it, is this fear over the security of the value of the dollar, the drachma, the Deutschmark, the euro, the yen, any form of paper money. People are scared. They see people like Ben Bernanke going on TV and saying, there's no problem with the money supply. It's not growing. And then the next breath he's saying, well, guess what? I'm buying bonds. I think at some level people know the story doesn't add up. And that's why people are rushing in to open up savings accounts and store gold in its physical form.
What about the other precious metal? Let's talk a little bit about silver. People love to own it, but also it's got industrial uses.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it. Unlike gold, it really does have industrial uses. It's used in medical applications. It has the best conductivity of any of the metals, really. So it's used in a lot of electronic applications, and it's moving in a big way. I think you could see silver go to $50 by the end of next year because it is in so much demand. And like gold, it's been money in many forms for thousands of years, and it's taking that place in a world where people want something tangible and real.
Well, people also want food. What about corn and food commodities, John?
They're going higher. I like them a lot. I think they've had a really good run. The one you want to play is corn in particular, and the reason for corn is the U.S. controls 65% of the world trade. Rice is a great commodity, but only 7% of it is traded. So you want to own corn, and of course we now have a policy in the U.S. where corn is being converted into ethanol, which also supports the demand for corn.
Now, tell us about cotton. People have to wear clothes. Is cotton going to be in even greater demand next year? Because we noted it's hit a 150-year high.
Oh, it has been absolutely on fire, and the same sort of things driving it. More affluence in the world, more consumers in the world, particularly out of places like China and India. India has an export ban on cotton, so those prices probably will go somewhat higher. But of all the ones we've talked about today, I'm probably the least bullish on that going forward.
What is your biggest bullish bet if you had to pick one for 2011, John?
2011, I'd say oil. It's a miracle fuel. It costs less than orange juice on a volumetric basis, and it really hasn't moved as much as some of the others. I think that goes higher. That's where your best bet is for 2011.
All right. Thanks very much, John Stephenson.